Hi, my name is Roland van der Vorst, and today I want to talk about the role of branding for design and share some basic insights on what you as a designer can learn from branding. So first of all, let's have a look at what is that role of branding and how can it help you as a designer. Well, let's imagine that you're a designer for Apple. It used to be quite clear what kind of products you would design. Computers, laptops, iPods, watches. Nowadays, it even seems not very strange that you can design a car. But the question is, where does it end? An Apple alarm clock? An Apple juice? An Apple toilet? Probably not. Apparently, there are limits to what you can do as a designer. And branding can help you to understand those limits. Because from a brand perspective, some products are more logical than others. We have all sorts of ideas, expectations about what to expect from a brand. And apparently, we don't expect Apple to introduce a toilet under its brand name. The expectations of a brand influence the kind of products you as a designer are supposed to create. And not only the kind of products, but also how it is designed. If we look at this car, we have all sorts of expectations about it. It's probably a very sophisticated car. It's probably a very glamorous car from the inside and luxurious. It has a strong engine, probably, and high price. But if I change the brand, the expectations change as well, because this car is probably less sophisticated. It's probably less glamorous and a little bit less luxurious than the other one. It also probably has a lower price. And we expect a different driver behind the steering wheels, probably someone who is not inclined to treat his car as a status symbol. Again, I change the brand and the expectations change. If we see the BMW, we expect different features, different forms, and yes, a different driver. That's because these different brands have a different meaning. And it's crucial that you as a designer are aware of that meaning, because that meaning defines the boundaries, the degrees of freedom you have as a designer. The sound engineers of BMW, they don't allow any sound variations when the passenger rolls up his window. Because a change of sound would imply a certain weakness of the brand, and that doesn't fit the brand, because the brand is all about solid engineering. So the sound of the window should also be solid. So it's crucial for you as a designer to be aware of the meaning of the brand. And the question is, how do you capture that meaning? And well, there are a lot of brand models that can teach you that. And they all differ in a special way, but at least they have three things in common. Most of these models say they describe the brand in terms of the purpose, the deeper why of the brand. They describe the brand in terms of the personality, how a brand behaves. And they describe the brand in terms of the positioning, what makes a brand relevant and distinctive from competitors. So let's have a quick look at these three elements of the brand model. First of all, the purpose, the deeper why, the beliefs of a brand. If you look at Patagonia, Patagonia believes that those who love the wild and beautiful places should not only experience them, but also have a duty to protect it. So the purpose of Patagonia is all about the combination of experience and preservation. And this is not a starship, it's the headquarters of Oakley, a sports apparel brand in the United States. And Oakley wants to make artistic creations with mechanical souls, as they say. So their purpose is all about a combination of making technologically interesting products that are also aesthetically interesting. And last but not least, probably you recognize it, this is the philosophy and belief of Nike as described by its founder. If you have a body, you can be an athlete. So the purpose of Nike is all about trying to help people transform into athletes. So that's the purpose. Then we go to the personality, and you can compare a personality with, well, a human. We also as humans have personalities. You have very sincere people, you have very adventurous people. Likewise, you have very sincere brands, for instance, like Hallmark or Campbell's Soup. These are warm and cheerful brands. You have very adventurous brands, like for instance Porsche or Absolut Vodka. They are out-daring, adventurous, exciting. You have very competent brands like CNN. You have very rugged brands that have a very outdoorsy and masculine feel to them, like Nike, for instance, and Marlboro. So this brand's personality describes how a brand behaves. Last but not least, in almost every brand model, you have room for a positioning statement. And here is such a positioning statement, typical positioning statement by Nike. For serious athletes, Nike offers sports apparel that is technologically advanced, delivers high performance, and gives people a sense of heroic confidence. So every positioning statement is built up from at least 5 elements: the target audience, the product category, the attributes, the technologically advanced attributes, the functional consequences of that, and of course the feeling you get from that products, the heroic confidence, the emotional benefits. So you have these 3 elements: the purpose, the personality, and the positioning. And every good brand model, these elements are logically related to each other. They're not loosely coupled, but they form a Gestalt, as the Germans would say. Well, the last question, of course, is how does this brand model and DNA influence design? How can it inspire designers? Well, let's have a look at the brand DNA of Apple. Apple wants to empower people through technology that is very simple. It wants to reduce complexity and make people feel creative and cool. From that perspective, it's very logical that Apple would not introduce a toilet under its brand name, or even an alarm clock, because we don't consider these products as complex products. They yearn for simplicity. And personally, I've never met someone who wants to look cool and feel cool on a toilet. If you look at the personality of the brand of Apple, you see that it's a very friendly, intuitive brand that is very stylish as well. And you immediately can imagine what kind of products you would design for such a personality. So all in all, we see that a brand, a good brand DNA, provides direction for a designer. But branding is not only about providing direction for the designer, it's also the other way around. It's the designer that drives the brand through his designs. It's because of the designer, because of you, that the brand expectations are not only raised, but kept. It's by doing this that the designer makes sure that the brand is not just a promise being made, but most of all, it's a promise being kept. Thank you very much, and have fun.